I'm Ronnie Walsh, and this is Extrapreneurs. Today we're talking about women in trades and technology. We'll look at the challenges that they've faced, their successes, and how they're overhauling stereotypes. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Enlow has been supporting women entrepreneurs in Newfoundland and Labrador for more than 20 years. It's your goal to succeed in business. It's ours to make sure you do. Extrapreneurs is proudly supported by Invested Mama, moving you and your money forward. When Sharlene Condon started her business, she faced skepticism over her ability to run a business in a male-dominated field. She runs Rock Solid Diesel, a mechanical service and repair business in central Newfoundland. Peter Walsh spoke with her recently about her challenges that she's overcome and what motivates her to succeed.
Why did you start Rock Solid Diesel?
I started Rock Solid Diesel because I saw a gap in the market and I wanted to capitalize on that, and I wanted to take care of my future.
What challenges have you faced? I mean, you are a woman in a male-dominated field.
I am, and there have been a number of challenges along the way. First was developing a customer base. I had actually had a customer laugh at me when I had approached him for some work. He couldn't believe that a female actually owned a heavy-duty diesel garage. So I challenged him to give me a chance, and he did give me a chance, and now he's one of my largest customers.
What did you learn from that?
Don't accept failure. Don't accept anything. Just be up for a challenge and be able to grow.
What opportunities have you found?
There are a number of opportunities that we've found, but you have to have the knowledge and the willingness to change your path. The path that Rock Solid Diesel is on now is not the path that I intended. Some of the opportunities that I've gained is to sign contracts with larger companies. And the ability to change myself was the way that I got those contracts.
Women are underrepresented in the transportation industry, from the executive to the manufacturing line. In this day and age, why do you think that's the case?
Underrepresented, yes, but I think the case may be based on the fact that women sometimes are underestimated. In order for a woman to succeed, I believe that we need to have balance in our life. So we do have to have male representatives as well. We need to stand next to each other.
What more can be done to advance women in the transportation industry?
We need more role models, more mentors, more women to step forward, to share their power, share their knowledge, and share their accomplishments. So as these women step forward, I always use Buffy St. Marie. She's a powerful woman. I'm also an Aboriginal woman. So oftentimes I use Buffy St. Marie. She's had many challenges in life. And she stepped forward as a positive enforcement for women. So we need these women to come forward and present themselves. Sometimes women are intimidated to do so.
You mentioned earlier about that first customer didn't believe that you owned the company. Are you still experiencing that? Do people still say, you know, you're the boss?
Sometimes they do, actually. I get the comment, and I've gotten before, what, a chick owns Rock Solid Diesel? And I say, no, I'm more than a chick. I'm a female business owner.
How do you try to influence others to change that perception?
In a male-dominated industry, I expect to have respect as a female. Therefore, I give respect back. Respect is given when received.
And does that work?
Unfortunately, we can't change the frame of mind for everybody. But for those that we can, we will try to make them educated. Education and knowledge is power, and I can't emphasize that enough. So if we can tell somebody that females are powerful and have them open up their eyes to it, yeah, then you've accomplished something.
What advice would you give someone wanting to get into your business?
Do it. Believe in yourself, be you, take risk, and don't be afraid of a challenge. A challenge is what makes you and helps you grow as a person.
A group of female auto body professionals are repairing all types of vehicles and overhauling stereotypes in the industry. Incan Iron is owned by Hilary Noack. She leads a team of all-female auto body professionals. I spoke with her from her shop in Oakville, Ontario.
Hilary, it's great to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
For those who aren't familiar with your business, what exactly do you do?
So we are an all-female auto body shop, and we focus on restoration, so classic car repair or rebuilding, and we do a little bit of minor collision, like fender benders. We don't do any heavy collision or insurance work, and then we do a little bit of like custom work, like cool paint jobs, and I always call it the fun stuff.
So how did you even get into this line of work?
I started as a co-op student. I was 17 and I had bought myself a 1970 Oldsmobile. In high school, I had taken the auto mechanics class, and originally I thought I might want to be a mechanic, but this Oldsmobile that I bought, obviously, because it was old, it was kind of, run down. And then in my mind, I wanted to learn about how I could fix the body. So there was a body shop close to where my parents live, and I went there in my grade 12 year and asked if they would take me on as a co-op student, and they did. And I was just like, from my very first day, I was hooked. I had a really great experience, and I just never left the trade since then.
You were inspired, you took the training, but how did you get to this journey right now, this spot where you own your own shop and have a team of other female auto body restoration specialists?
I think I had always known that I wanted to have my own shop. It was always something that I knew that I wanted to do. And then, as I'm working, gaining that experience and knowledge, I'm thinking, what's going to make my business stand out from, thousands of other body shops out there. And at the same time working, I was meeting more and more women in this trade. And I was just hearing, some of their stories of what they'd overcome. That kind of inspired me to start a business that was female owned and operated, and with the hopes that we can have a positive environment to train these technicians and send them out into the world with like the confidence and some basic skills. So
getting a business off the ground isn't easy. So how did you get yours off the ground?
I used the platform Indiegogo to fund my business. So Indiegogo is a crowdfunding website, and you offer perks in exchange for people's donations. So things like T-shirts, or all the way up to, I had a restoration option on mine. I raised a little over $15,000 on and off Indiegogo, and I used that money to took that money and went and found a shop and paid my first and last month's rent and just kind of hit the ground running.
Now that's an unusual way to start a business. What made you think of going that route, a crowdfunding way to start?
I guess just, living on my own. I live downtown Toronto, really expensive city, and just, being someone who was so young and didn't really have like a lot of assets, something like a bank loan, like a traditional route of financing, wasn't something that was really an option for me. And, it was hard. Like I was living basically paycheck to paycheck. So for me to try and save money, it just seemed impossible. And that's when I kind of started doing some research, like, I thought there's got to be like another way. It shouldn't just be like black or white. And at the time, that's when I discovered Indiegogo. And I spent a few months just kind of researching different campaigns, seeing what worked and what didn't. And aside from the fact of how it helped me fund my business, I love it for the reasons that, for marketing, like the publicity that I was very fortunate. I got a lot of media coverage, and it really helped me. I think when I opened, I was busy pretty much right from the beginning. So I would use it again, like even just for that aspect of it.
I want to come back to the point you talked about financing in banks. Did you approach banks to invest, to provide you with the funding, the loans to do that, or you just decided not to go that route? What did you do?
I had went into a couple banks and spoke to some managers about like requirements and what would be needed type of thing. And it just, at the time and where I was at financially, it wasn't an option for me. So then I started looking into more, I guess, non-traditional routes.
How has the industry responded to you, and how have other women responded to you and your business?
I think it's been mostly positive. I get a lot of, I've heard from girls saying like, oh, when I went through trade school, like our teachers talk about your shop. And so that to me was something really cool to hear. I hope it's been able to kind of influence people or women in this trade positively. I'm hoping that, maybe it will show another shop owner, hey, maybe I should be hiring some more women, like they can do this. And I just hope it kind of starts that wheel turning. I think like a weird misperception is people assume that because we're female owned and operated that all our customers are women, but I would say about like 99% of our customers are men. And like their response is usually pretty neat. It's a lot of guys who have daughters who, are like, my daughter's so into cars and I think this is great. And they're really kind of supporting that pro women in trades movement. There's a lot of guys who come in and think that women have a better eye for detail. So they, and they really want a nice job. So that's kind of sells them on it as well. And then I'll have the guys that just kind of walk in here and they look around and like, oh, it's all girls that work here. And then when I say, yeah, they're like, oh, that's cool. And it's just not even a big deal. So that's cool. I really hope that we get to the point one day where it's not weird to walk into a shop and see a bunch of girls working.
What were some of the biggest challenges, aside from the funding that you talked about, trying to get that money? What were some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome to build your team and keep the doors open?
I think just one of my biggest challenges was shifting kind of my mindset from being a technician to now being a business owner. Because, it's easy to think like, I'm going to open my own shop. It'll be great. I'm going to get to like work on all the cars I want. When in reality, there's so much more that I had no idea. Like I didn't take a business course, and that's probably something that in hindsight I should have done. But like to transition from being a technician for 12 years to now suddenly being like the janitor, managing people, answering the phone, quoting jobs. Like there's days where sometimes I only touch a car for a couple hours, and just shifting my mindset that way. That's been a big challenge, and I feel like it's still something even now, almost 5 years in, that I'm continuing to learn and to get better. It was a lot of just like trial by error in the beginning, and things mess up, and you say, well, I learned that lesson the hard way. Managing people, that's a big one too. Just kind of making sure everyone's like okay, and just trying to be really good about communicating. And just even some days if I'm really stressed and in a bad mood, it's just trying to keep that like neutral, like not bringing that stress into the work environment. So it's like a whole, like I said, it's just learning like this whole other world. But it's definitely been a challenge, but it's been fun.
Are you seeing more or less females get into this industry?
I'm definitely seeing more. And I think now with the era of platforms like Instagram and Facebook groups and stuff, I think it's been able to really kind of like connect us, and we just are kind of there to support each other. Like I remember when I started, there wasn't any of that, and you often felt like very much alone. But now I'm seeing like quite a few women coming into it, and then I'll meet someone from another shop and they're always super excited to tell me like, I hired a girl and like she's great. So I think we're just it's like a snowball effect, right? Like the more of us that get out there and do it, the more mainstream it's going to come. But it's definitely on the uphill.
One of the things that impressed me about you, following you online, you're based in Oakville, Ontario, but you have a very strong online presence in LinkedIn and various other social platforms. You have thousands or significant following in your Facebook group. How has that influenced your business and maybe the perception of women in this trade?
I think it's just given me a platform to share my stories and to share my struggles and share my work. And I think, social media is key for not only like your business, but your own personal brand. And I think it's so important just to kind of, there's days where I'm like, oh, I'm lazy, but it takes really like 5 minutes to snap a picture of something, write a caption and post it up, right? You just got to be like consistent and consistently out there getting your message. And I think you'll just kind of continue to reach more and more people. Plus it's something like I really enjoy social media. Like I love sharing my work. I love interacting with people about my trade and talking about issues in my trade. So it's something that's fun for me as well.
What's next for you? You talked that you just moved to Oakville. So what's in the future for Incan Iron?
So my long-term goal is to be able to expand and to franchise the business. And, you know, it's not something that when I opened, I'd ever thought about doing or even was an idea in my head. But I get emails, messages all the time from women saying they either wish there was something like this that existed in their state or province that they could work at, or women that have the same goal as me. Like, they tell me, I've always wanted to open my own all-female shop. So definitely franchising, and I want to open a second location in the Detroit area, where my husband's from. So we're back and forth quite often. It's a really awesome, you know, car-based city, and I love it. And there's actually quite a lot of women I've met that do this trade there. So I think that'll be our next step, and then start franchising from there.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing the backstory about your business, the challenges that you've overcome, and what's next for you. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Design your dreams.
Drive change.
In my opinion, the future is female. I agree.
It's important to get the girls into these careers. Build your future.
Experience the benefits of diversity and inclusion.
Make tomorrow better.
Extrapreneurs is proudly supported by A Holding Place, providing individual, couples, and family counseling. Enlo has been supporting women entrepreneurs in Newfoundland and Labrador for more than 20 years. It's your goal to succeed in business. It's ours to make sure you do. There's a large growing tech industry and workforce in Canada, and it's a major economic driver across our regions across the country. But women are underrepresented and underpaid in this industry. So what are the barriers? What continue to be those barriers? Paul Preston is the CEO of the Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Technology and Innovation, NATI for short. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Let's take a look at the Newfoundland industry. How many tech companies do we have here?
Yeah, when we look at the pure technology companies, those firms that are purely tech focused, we know there's about 165 or more pure tech firms. If you consider companies that are highly tech enabled, that really interact quite a bit with technology, several hundred.
And how many of those are led by women?
Not enough, clearly. We have some great examples locally, companies, up-and-coming companies like Succeed, longer-term companies like Prima Information Solutions, for example. Genoa Design is led by a strong female leader, but not enough. We know there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the sector and across Canada, quite frankly.
So we'll talk about that work that needs to be done in just a moment. I want to get a sense of the economy and how much this industry contributes to Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yeah, in terms of GDP impact, we know the industry, the sector is about in excess of 1.6 billion. To put that in perspective, bigger than tourism, bigger than traditional fishery, bigger than farming. And most people aren't aware of that. It employs about 4,000 people within the pure tech industry itself. And that number's more like 8,700 if you consider the really highly tech-enabled firms.
What opportunities for work exist in this province?
So we're seeing more and more huge potential and really a demand for labor that we can't meet here in this province. I have 5 members of NATI, 5 tech companies. Just those 5 are going to hire in excess of 750 people in the next 3 to 5 years. But they can't find the skill sets, the people, the talent they need here locally. So the opportunity for a young person or someone who's considering a career change have never been better. And the opportunities in particular for young women coming out, I think there's a real opportunity there for them.
So it's a huge economic driver. I think people watching this will be surprised to hear that number, because they often think of tourism as the big money generator.
Absolutely.
And oil, of course, is there. But when you talk about opportunities, what are the barriers right now preventing women from getting into this industry?
Yeah, we know statistically women are 4 times less likely to go into a career in technology. We see stats that show women, young women, are about 3% of them are likely to consider a career in technology. So there are real barriers there. We think the first thing, it has to start in the K-12 system. Some studies show, young women really, if they're going to consider a career in tech, it's by grade 6. More recent research is showing us you really got to get them thinking about careers in technology by the time they're in grade 3, grade 4. So it's getting at girls really at a younger age to give them that encouragement, to help them to consider different types of career paths. But just as important, it's strong female leaders, strong female mentors, and just exposing them to the sector and to problem solving with tech, et cetera. Yeah.
So what kinds of things are you as an organization looking at to generate that interest at that age and also have that mentorship at the later stage of knowledge?
Yeah, so there's some program-based things and some other very practical things we do. I mean, I'm proud to say that within our bylaws, our constitution as an organization, we strive and have an actual target to make sure gender is represented equally on our board of directors. So that's important to see strong female leaders on our board of directors helping to lead the sector. A very practical thing we do. We've got a partnership with Brilliant Labs to get coding into schools, so coding into the K-12 system. It's focused on both boys and girls, but importantly, it's about that exposure and that encouragement at a young age. We host a series of events around women in tech. We partner with organizations like the Workforce Innovation Center, Women Resource Development Corporation, NLO, and others to do activities that encourage women in tech. Just recently, this past spring, we went to a high school, St. John Bosco, and held an event all about women in tech, but the boys were also there. We want to make sure that everyone understands we're better when we have a more diverse and inclusive workforce. And
just briefly, I want you to touch on what impact does this lack of diversity and inclusion, specifically when it comes to women in this industry, have on the tech sector?
Massive, and I mean, I truly believe not just a diverse but an inclusive, conclusive workforce is vital to driving the kind of creative solutions we need for world problems. So within the technology innovation sector, you're setting new ground. You're breaking into new areas that haven't been tested. There's no pure solutions. The way we can create those solutions and that next generation of technology, we need all the brightest minds. We need diverse ways of thinking and of looking at problems. So we need diverse skill sets, quite frankly. And I think within our sector, it's even more important.
Paul, thanks for coming in and highlighting the importance of this industry and how you're tackling some of the barriers.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll be right back. NLO has been supporting women entrepreneurs in Newfoundland and Labrador for more than 20 years. It's your goal to succeed in business. It's ours to make sure you do.
My name is Judith Babbitt, and I'm the owner of the company. I created Oceans Limited back in 1981. The key to my success is that we do research in areas that I think the research has to be done, so we're always doing something different. Well, I guess I consider myself a trailblazer because I've worked for the oil industry for 40 years. I started out working for the oil industry back in 1978, and at that time I certainly was the only female around. and now there's many more. And it's very accepted now to work on the oil platforms. What inspires me is to do research, to do things differently. For instance, we've done a lot of research in the past for Coast Guard, for search and rescue, finding people at sea quicker. We have done a lot of work, I think, in developing a weather forecasting system to give more accurate weather forecasts for people working at sea. And right now in this lab, we're working on seaweed, where we have discovered a novel molecule that stops the growth of breast cancer. We're working on bacteria to treat dogs. We've developed an extract that stops the growth of MRSP, as an infection that's drug resistant that dogs get. There was no time that I realized that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was always an entrepreneur. I left a small fishing village when I was 13 to get educated. I had to put myself through university. Well, for new entrepreneurs, I feel that they should follow whatever they're interested in, because I feel that it's always individuals who make a difference.
Extrapreneurs is proudly supported by A Holding Place, providing individual, couples, and family counseling. That's all for this episode. On our next show, we're talking about mental health in the workplace. We'll look at a recent study on the mental health of entrepreneurs. We'll talk about how to create psychologically safe workplaces. And we'll look at workplace training for mental health issues and how to manage certain situations. That's on our next episode. I'm Ronnie Walsh. Thanks for watching Extrapreneurs.